We begin with new fears of violence surrounding former President Donald Trump's legal battles. The Manhattan District Attorney investigating the former president received an envelope with white powder along with a death threat on Friday. It comes as the former president awaits a grand jury's decision on a possible indictment, just one of his many legal concerns. CBS News' Robert Costa reports.
The twice impeached former president's rhetoric is reckless, reprehensible, and irresponsible.
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries sounding the alarm today after former President Trump warned that death and destruction is possible if he's indicted.
It's dangerous, and if he keeps it up, he's going to get someone killed.
Trump also reposted an ominous altered image where he is holding a baseball bat next to an image of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who has one of his hands raised. Bragg, who now has increased security, received a death threat today at his New York office. A letter addressed to him with a note inside saying, "Alvin, I'm going to kill you." It contained a small amount of white powder, but was determined to be non-hazardous. Meanwhile, Trump's legal challenges in Washington are mounting. A federal judge ordered several of his former top aides to testify about his conduct before and during the January 6th Capitol attack, including former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. This came as the special counsel probing Trump's handling of classified documents heard testimony today from Trump lawyer Evan Corcoran, who prosecutors believe may have been misled by Trump about the retention of those documents.
President Trump's counsel, Evan Corcoran, probably represents the most profound threat to his potential indictment.
CBS News chief campaign and election correspondent Robert Costa joins us now. Robert, let's dig a little deeper here. Is the special counsel investigation the one that's really got the primacy now, and the Manhattan DA's case is sort of on pause or receding?
It's good to be with you, Catherine. All of these investigations are swirling around former President Donald Trump. But when you talk to members of his inner circle and his legal team, they are still uncertain about which probe will be the one that indicts him, if any indictment ever comes. But it is the grand jury on the federal level investigating January 6th that does have many Trump allies on edge, to say the least, because they are being called in, being told they have to testify, and that any kind of claim of executive privilege will probably not hold when it comes to questions about their conversations with the former president.
The former president's lawyer has appeared before a grand jury here in Washington Friday. How critical is that testimony?
Legal experts say it's highly unusual to see an attorney have to testify before a federal grand jury about their client. Usually, attorney-client privileges, as you cover day in and day out, are privileged and not allowed in a court or in a trial. But in this case, a judge has said that the prosecutors are making the case there could be a crime or fraud that took place during the discussions over how to handle those classified documents, and because of that, they want to hear from Evan Corcoran, though Evan Corcoran is not the only one they're talking to. According to CBS News reporting, the prosecutors, working with the special counsel, are also talking to some of the lower-level aides at Mar-a-Lago, some of the administrators, some of the political aides who worked with Trump in his post-presidential office. They're all trying to piece together, we're told, how exactly Trump handled the documents when he was informed about what he had, how he addressed that, and how he communicated to his lawyers about what to do.
And Robert, is it your assessment that the case that's building potentially on the classified records, it's really an obstruction case versus the retention of the records?
It's a great point, Catherine, because ultimately the handling of classified material could be something that goes all the way to the Supreme Court. It's something that the Trump legal team at least believes is at least vague constitutionally about where executive privilege extends to when it comes to classification. They believe if he's ever prosecuted on having possession of classified records, they would argue that the rules on this are vague and unclear, and President Biden himself has dealt with his own classified records coming under scrutiny, his handling of his own records from the vice presidency. So you see obstruction now coming to the fore as a potential charge. We still don't know if the special counsel will move in that direction, but it looks like by bringing Evan Corcoran in, that is a sign that you're seeing an obstruction case slowly being built, but we don't know if it will ever be completed.
Well, you make a very good point. You've got a number of former executives who found to have classified information. So if you're building that case, the obstruction case would kind of be the cleaner shot, if you will. Finally, because we just have a few seconds left, the former White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, what broke the logjam on his testimony?
He had been citing executive privilege, and the Trump team had been arguing he shouldn't be able to testify about conversations with Trump. But now a judge says that's not going to hold. He has to speak.
Robert Costa, thank you for your reporting.
Thank you.